Hello everyone, my name is Alan Kutsia and I'm a New Zealand licensed immigration advisor. I work for Choose New Zealand. We are an education and migration consultancy based in Auckland, New Zealand, and this is part 5, the final part in this video series on how to become an international student in New Zealand. Now in this video we'll discuss a range of topics. We'll talk about the conditions of a student visa, what must you do as a student in New Zealand. We'll talk about how to bring your family to New Zealand while you are a student, and we'll talk about the post-study work visa. Okay, so here's an example of a student visa. You can see it is a letter. It is not a passport sticker, it's a letter that contains a lot of very important information. So the letter will tell you the earliest date you may enter New Zealand and the latest date you may enter New Zealand. Be sure to arrive in New Zealand within the stated time frame. It will tell you the expiry of the visa. So you must leave New Zealand before the visa expires or apply for a new temporary visa. As a student in New Zealand, you must attend all classes. Any significant periods of absences must be explained to Immigration New Zealand, who might not accept your explanation, so do make sure you attend all of your classes. You must pass the course, obviously. If you try to renew your visa and it turns out you failed the first year, they will not give you a new visa for the second year. You must abide by the course provider's rules. If you are expelled by the school, you will lose the student visa. And you must abide by New Zealand law. And this includes the road laws. So if you are stopped by police committing a serious road offense, you may lose the visa and become liable for deportation. While you are on a student visa, you may only study one course at one institution and at one campus. Now, if you arrive in New Zealand and you change your mind, you want to study a different course or change the school, that's fine. You do not need a new student visa necessarily, but there is a protocol to follow called a variation of conditions. If you're interested in this, contact us. We can help you change your course when you are in the country. And finally, work rights. Many student visas will allow the holder to work part-time while in New Zealand. This will only allow you to work up to 20 hours per week. That's 20 hours during semester and 40 hours during scheduled holidays. So make sure that you read the letter very carefully, you understand all of its contents, and abide by the rules as stated in the visa. Okay, next I'd like to talk a little bit about bringing your family to New Zealand. Now, what if you have a husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, or children in your country and you want them to live with you in New Zealand while you are studying your course? Now, there are a couple options available to you. If for your partner, you may bring them on a work visa or on a visitor visa. But do make sure that you establish to Immigration New Zealand that you are in a genuine and stable relationship and that you share a home you live together in, or at least you live together before coming to New Zealand. So make sure that you prove that you are in a genuine relationship and that you live together. For your children, if they are very young, a visitor visa may be appropriate. If they are school age, you can get them a student visa instead. Now we see a handy table showing all the visa categories your family might be eligible for. Let's begin by looking at the first row. We see a partnership work visa. Now do keep in mind the partnership work visa gives your partner the freedom to work if they choose. However, they're not obliged to work. They may choose to stay at home and not work. They may choose to work part-time or full-time, and they can work at any workplace they want. So it's an open work visa giving them a lot of freedom. Next, we have the partnership visitor visa, which gives them a lot less freedom. They may live at home with you, they may look after your child, however, they cannot get out and find a job. And next we see two types of student visa for your child. The first is a domestic student visa. This would allow your child to come to New Zealand as a student without an offer of place from a school, and your child would only need to pay domestic student tuition fees. Now, these are the same tuition fees paid by New Zealand children, subsidized by the New Zealand government, and much lower than international student tuition fees. If your child is not eligible for a domestic student visa, they may still come here as an international student, just like you did, which means they would need an offer of place from a school, and they would need to pay international student tuition fees, which are much higher than domestic fees. And finally, we have the child visitor visa, perfect if your child is a baby or small child, not yet school age. If we look at the left-hand column, we can see that students enrolled in a level 10 PhD course may bring their family on any of the partnership and child visa categories available. However, if you are enrolled in a level 9 master's course, you can only bring your child to New Zealand on a domestic student visa if the student visa is supported by your partner on a partnership work visa. In other words, if your partner is coming to New Zealand on a partnership work visa, your child may come as well and pay domestic student tuition fees. However, if your partner is coming to New Zealand on a visitor visa, or your partner is not coming to New Zealand at all, then your child would need to apply for an international student visa, pay international study fees, or apply for a visitor visa instead. Moving down to level 7 and level 8 courses. Now, most students in level 7 and 8 courses may not bring their partners on to New Zealand on a work visa. However, if your course is on the long-term skills shortage list, then your partner may come here on a work visa. So what is the long-term skill shortage list? You can find it on the Immigration New Zealand website. Here is an example. We see that under the occupation group construction, on the right-hand column, we see a whole list of courses and degrees that would qualify you for the long-term skill shortage list. If your course appears on this list, then yes, you may bring your partner on a partnership work visa, and your child may also come here on a domestic student visa. However, if your course is not on the long-term skill shortage list, then your partner may only come here on a visitor visa, and your child must apply for an international student visa or a visitor visa. And finally, we have level 5 and 6, quite restrictive. Your partner can only come on a visitor visa, and your child would need to apply for an international student visa or visitor visa. Now moving on to the post-study work visa. Now this is a very attractive option and one of the big reasons why studying in New Zealand is such a great option for you. Once you finish the course, you will be eligible for a work visa that allows you to work in any job you want for any employer, working anywhere for as many or as few hours as possible. You can even take a long holiday on this work visa if you want. There's no obligation to work. Now, there are a few requirements to be eligible for a post-study work visa. You must have successfully completed the course. So you can only apply for this visa after you complete the course, but you must not apply too late either. If you were to go back to your country and wait more than 3 months after the expiry of your student visa, then you will be ineligible for this visa. So do apply quickly after you finish the course. You must prove that you have $4,200 in living cost funds, and you must have studied part of the course in New Zealand. For level 7 to 10, you must have studied at least 30 weeks in New Zealand. If the course is level 4 to 6, you must have studied at least 60 weeks in New Zealand. Now, if you meet those requirements, you will get a post-study work visa for 1 or 3 years. If the course was a postgraduate level 8 to 10 course, you will get a 3-year post-study work visa. If it was a level 7 bachelor's degree, you will also be eligible for 3 years. However, if it was a level 7 graduate diploma or diploma, you will only be eligible for 1 year. Levels 4 to 6, you will also be eligible for a 1-year post-study work visa. Okay, so that's all for today. Thank you very much if you made it through the whole series. It was great to talk to you about this. Here are our contact details again. Choose New Zealand, look us up on Facebook, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thanks very much, and we hope to see you in New Zealand one day. Thanks very much.